Good morning, dear students. I hope that you are doing well and you have understood our previous lessons, specifically with regard to psychology in Africa and America. Now, welcome to our lesson for psychology in Asia. There are lots of countries in Asia, but then I have selected two special countries such as Japan and China, and you'll discover why. Okay, so at the end of our recorded lessons, I'd like you to differentiate the important concepts that I will be presenting to you with regard to psychology across the various parts of Asia, specifically China and Japan. So let's proceed to our topic number one: psychology in China. Did you know that the psychology in China evolved differently from the other continents and other countries as well? The basic ways of thinking about the human mind within Chinese civilization can be found in the writings of Confucius. And we know for a fact that Confucius is one of the philosophers in China, and he is considered one of the greatest philosophers who have influenced the Chinese from then until now. And one of the famous adages or quotations from Confucius is that do unto others what you want others to do unto you. Okay? And in 1917, the first psychological laboratory in China was established. If we could compare this to other countries, the establishment of psychological laboratory was not that really important. Okay, they really did not support it, but it is otherwise for China. And in 1949, the scientific and educational institutions of psychology were restructured using the Soviet Union as a model. We know for a fact that Soviet Union is Russia right now. Okay, and they base their philosophy towards Marxism or communism. Okay, so Chinese has been adapting this model, okay, and it affected the evolution of their psychology as well. And let us know the psychological science in China. Did you know that Chinese psychologists viewed conditioned reflexes as the basis of human behavior and the mind as a reflection of the materials and social world in which one lives? Okay, if we say conditioned reflexes, an example of which is that if your parents arrive home and they really practice the giving of surprise or pasalubong to you, the other day or tomorrow will be the same as you expected. Therefore, because you want to feel the surprise or see the pasalubong, you would run towards them. Okay, that's a conditioned reflex. It is the opposite of the natural reflex that we have. Okay, and the Chinese psychologists consider this as one of the basis of the behavior of Chinese in their society. And they also adapted ideas from cybernetics. Cybernetic is one of the words that you should be researching on because this is very important in the evolution of cybernetic psychology. Okay? Information theory and computer science in their study of mental processes and in industrial and military applications. China is one of the countries in Asia which is very advanced when it comes to technology, and they have used this technology towards the advancement of psychology. And the quality of Chinese psychologists' basic and applied research met international standards. It is parallel with the standard of European countries and the American country. Okay, let us proceed. Chinese also adapted the market economy. It was then a sleeping giant, but then it is really awakened right now, and it is parallel with the economy of the other advanced countries. Okay, the market economy opened China to the international market, and if you could notice right now that the gadgets that you have, the other commodities that we use are made in China, assembled in China. Why? Because there are lots of foreign companies which invested there. Okay, And did you know that because of this opening of the market economy to the international market of the world, there has been immense social change and intense competition which marked the increase in mental health disorders. That's why psychotherapy and psychological counseling was developed rapidly in China, as well as the recruitment and training of psychologists, of course. Aside from that, psychotherapy and counseling were made available in hospitals, schools, and communities, unlike in other countries wherein it is only in the educational setting. Further, there are outpatient departments for psychological testing and counseling. So this is a very good innovation from China, because psychological testing and counseling is not confined in one setting only. They really offer it in public and private hospitals. And did you know that psychologists were trained in medicine? Therefore, they have the right and duty to prescribe medicines in hospitals. And they also innovated psychoanalysis. That's why they have what we call Chinese psychoanalysis, which was really based on their culture in China. And they really made sure that the managerial psychology and industrial psychology as part of the market economy became multidisciplinary and problem-oriented model. And what's the future of psychology in China? The coming generation will see a rapid growth in the number of Chinese psychologists. So, I hope that you have understood the brief explanation and the important concepts that I have shared with you. Now, it is time for you to practice your critical thinking and research skills. So, you should look for the Chinese psychoanalysis and differentiate it from the usual Freudian psychoanalysis. You could answer this through the posted Google form link entitled Global Psych Activity Number 5. Alright, so let's proceed with our second topic for Lesson 4, Psychology in Japan. How did psychology evolve in Japan? Okay, did you know that the term psychology has a corresponding vernacular term in Japan? It is called Shinrigaku. Okay, this was influenced by Meiji Restoration. It is called the Japan Sweeping Societal Reform. You know for a fact that Japan really was one of the countries which led the invasion of other Asian countries, but then through Meiji Restoration, they had a societal reform, which we could feel right now because they are helping us, especially the third world countries, towards progress. Okay, and we could recognize two important persons, namely Motora and Matsumoto, who were considered as the proponents of Japanese psychology in 1800s. So how is psychology practiced in Japan? This profession is practiced in 4 settings such as educational, medical, social welfare, forensic, and labor industry. And aside from that, salaries are commensurate with those of other specialized civil service workers. Unlike in the African countries wherein the compensation of psychologists and the other allied professions are very low, in Japan it is high, okay? And the development of school counselor system, which addressed peer bullying and school refusal behavior or the dropout, had been made across all public and private basic educational systems of Japan. And of course, the Japanese psychologists have validated major Western personality inventories and adapted them for use with Japanese respondents, an example of which is the Yatabe-Guilford personality test. And of course, the Japanese translations and adaptations of major standardized intelligence tests are also available, an example of which is the Tanaka-Binet intelligence test. Okay, if you could recall, when we started our global psychology subject, one of the issues and concerns raised against Western psychology is that it is directly adopted by other countries, even if it does not fit their situation. But mind you, we are proud that two of the Asian countries, such as Japan and China, have made the innovation that their society needed when it comes to the practice and use of the concepts of psychology. And of course, clinical psychologists embarked on promoting empirically supported or evidence-based interventions derived from the scientist practitioner model. I hope that you could still remember the competency framework that I have discussed when we started our global perspectives in psychology discussion. Okay? So, apart from those important concepts, I'd like you to do your part as well. So, with regard to the psychology in Japan, I'd like you to research on one of the popular phenomena in Japan which is still practiced, like suicide. It is termed as harakiri, jigai, or seppuku, and cite the roles of mental health professionals towards this culture-related social issue. Search if there are locally normed psychological tests that would measure the susceptibility of a Japanese youth to it. You could answer through Google form entitled Global Psych Activity 5. Answer it in one paragraph only. Thank you. And of course, another task for you, because we did not discuss the psychology in Middle East, but it is very important, especially nowadays. What are the interventions of psychologists and allied professions on the decade-long war among and between the countries therein? If you could relate with regard to the war between Israel and Palestine and the other Middle Eastern countries. Okay, answer through Google form link, and this is already posted in our group chat. Global Psych Activity number 5. Answer it in one paragraph only. So thank you so much and God bless.